Welcome everyone, and welcome everyone to the American Family Insurance DreamBank, where we believe in the transformative power of dreams. I'm Madeline, and I'm thrilled to have you with us today. For those of you that are familiar with DreamBank, welcome back. And for those of you that this is your first time joining us, welcome. Here at American Family Insurance, we believe communities are stronger and the future is brighter when people are actively pursuing their dreams. That's why we created DreamBank, an inspirational community, destination, and digital experience dedicated to dreamers everywhere. Also, kind of a fun, exciting fact. This Tuesday, we actually opened up our space for the first time since the pandemic kind of kicked off a couple years ago. And so if you are in the Madison area, I encourage you to stop on by. We have no events in person for the month of January. We're just kind of doing a soft open where people can come explore the space, the exhibit, grab a cup of coffee, and then starting in February, can't get my month straight. Starting in February, we'll be doing some in-person events and some viewing parties and things like that. So definitely be on the lookout. So we are excited to actually have our doors open now after almost 3 years. So it's exciting. But so that is just a little bit about us, but we will still always continue to have our online events offered as well. So if you are not in the Madison area, have no fear. We will be sticking around virtually as well. But that is just enough about me, enough about DreamBank. I would like to introduce you to today's speaker, Jenn Tuma-Young. Tuma-Young is the founder of Inspired Girl Enterprise, a company that creates and develops content with hearts for books, TV, films, and events and communities. Prior to forming Inspired Girl Enterprise, Jenn, a published author with HarperCollins, worked in the transformative space for over 2 decades, coaching thousands of people both individually and in groups. Before I butcher any more of your bio, I will pass it over to you.
You did amazing, not butchered at all. And besides, that's just 3 sentences of a whole lifetime. I always laugh when I hear the bios read, like, who is that? Anyway, thank you so much for having me, and thank you for those that are joining us. I'm so honored and excited that you took some time out of your day so we can dig into talking about taking our dreams out of hiding. So I'm going to share my screen with you, and then let's see, a little technical here. All right, can you guys see that? I think so. So we're going to be talking about taking your dreams out of hiding. And I just like to start with this. It's so important that if you have a dream in your heart that you already acknowledge and recognize, I want you to know that you would not dream it if somebody didn't need it. So we need to honor that dream because somebody needs it. We don't dream things that aren't necessary. And sometimes that person is somebody else. Sometimes that person is us, that we need to learn something from that dream. Sometimes it's both, but they're always needed and necessary. So I just like to start with that. All right, and so I'm going to tell you a little story. The word Orin is on the screen, and Orin means hidden treasure. I have a cousin who is over 10 years younger than me. And so growing up, you know, we weren't always hanging out and playing together because I was so much older. As we got older, we got closer at family parties. But she was always so quiet. You know, she was quiet, she was attentive, a great listener. One day I am online on Facebook and I happen to see that she is now the lead singer in a band called Orin. I go, what? My cousin's a lead singer in a band? What is this? I had no idea. So I saw the name Orin, and as a words person, I kind of dug into what the meaning of the word was. And it just struck me so beautifully that it has a correlation to that gold, that hidden treasure. And this is true, you know, for Sarah and for every single person in the world, that there is hidden treasures within everyone that many people would never know we all have. And so our thing is like, let's take that hidden treasure out of hiding. I was so inspired by my cousin who did just that, and her music and her voice is incredible, but we all have those things. So if you are unsure of what yours are, or you're on the fence about, is that really a good dream? We're gonna dig into that today. But just remember, the gold in you, somebody else needs, and so we're going to take it out hiding. All right. So first things first is, I wanted to, this is kind of an overview. We could probably do a whole webinar on each one of these slides, but to give you a little look to, so if you're unsure, a lot of times people feel unsure of their dreams. How do I identify them? These are just some places to look. I mean, if we look to our past, like our younger self, what was I doing when I was a child that I just lit me up and I loved? What would I do and hours would just pass and I wouldn't even realize it? For myself, when I was going through a really tough time in my life as an adult, I had a moment where I just really remembered that little girl that loved to sit and write. I wrote poetry, I wrote by the river, and that's what I did literally in that moment. And it led to so many things, including writing books. I could tell this for so many people. I have a dear friend who's also a partner in business with me, and she, when she was a little girl, she would go to people's houses and organize their closets. That's what she did for fun. Lo and behold, years later, she has a company all about organizing, home organizing and minimalizing. So the past really holds a lot of clues. And I will encourage you, if you don't know how to tap into the past or you don't know where to begin with that, you don't remember, you can either look at pictures or do something that you did as a child. Like, this is going to sound a little silly, but it's so fun. And I do this on the regular. Find a park, play on the swings, blow some bubbles, tap into that inner child. And that inner child is going to show us our dreams in our heart. Okay. Go back into a little relationship with that person. The present has our dreams hidden in it all over the place. I literally love going into people's homes, spaces, offices, what have you, because I can see their dreams almost hanging on their wall in a sense. They're just everywhere. And a lot of times people don't see their gifts and they don't see them within themselves. So really examine the world around you and the things that you love to do. I was in a friend's home, and she, had all kinds of stuff about her rescue dogs in that home. But she also had things that sort of mixed and matched perfectly well from a design standpoint, but they weren't matchy-matchy. And it came to me that she was really good at putting things together and loved animals. Maybe doing something with helping match families with the right rescue pet for them was something that could be done. So it's so interesting how you can look at the world around you, the present moment. Nature is a great teacher. What we see in nature is a mirror into ourselves. All of us can look at the same thing and see something completely and totally different. I can look at a tree and see, that tree is tall and strong. You might look at a tree and see, oh, that tree's got like some imperfections in it. It's very weathered. I might be feeling like I need strength. You might be feeling like a little imperfect, but you explore what you see in nature, and dreams and things we need emerge. It's really beautifully powerful. We can look to the ones we love, the ones who love you. So asking people, like, they might just naturally tell you what your talents are, what your gifts are, what they see for you. You might see something in somebody that really stands out to you. That can give you insight into your dreams, somebody that you admire, something that you love about a person. And surprisingly, the ones who pick every nerve out of our body. So sometimes we can really find, I say that with love because a lot of times what we're looking at is maybe irritating to us or it upsets us, but really if we follow the thread back, it might signal something that we feel like we haven't explored in our own lives or that we're missing. And not in every case, but in some cases you can find a lot of gold just by looking at the things you love and the things that kind of bother us, right? So just remember that what you see in others exists in you. In some way, shape, or form, there's a thread back to you. We can't see it if it isn't there. And so when somebody really, I use this really with the people that light you up so much. So many times you'll be inspired by somebody, or in something will give you a little inspiration. Remember, that's just you. You're seeing yourself, your beauty in that other person. So just always remember that what you see in others exists in you, and it could give you insight into whatever dreams are buried and hidden within you, if you don't know what those are. So I think it's important, before we go into some, ways to act on our dreams, to look at things that block us from doing so, right? And again, we could really dig into each of these topics, but just to start, awareness changes everything. So if you just start to turn your awareness into these things that maybe can bubble up some information for you, right? So worthiness and self-judgment. A lot of times we attach strings to our worth, and we don't feel worthy. Who am I to dream? I'm nobody. I have no, we have some issues with our own self-worth. We feel only worthy in certain circumstances, or I'm worthy if I'm in a relationship. I'm worthy if, because of my children's, successes, I'm worthy. I'm worthy if I'm a certain size on the scale. None of that is true. That's all strings. We're worthy when we have nothing but ourselves. We are each magnificently made, born for a purpose, capable of more than we know. And those strings that we attach can cause us to be sort of a tangled mess in our self-worth. So if we're feeling unworthy in any kind of way, just know that that is a lie that we tell ourselves. I'll talk a little bit how to get out of that lie, but that can block us from feeling even worthy of dreaming. We're judgmental of ourselves. A lot of times, again, that mirror that I said, look to if we're critical of something outside of ourselves, that could be a mirror into releasing the criticism from ourselves. The more neutral we could be with the world around us, the more neutral and loving we can be towards ourselves, and vice versa. And I know that's a big one to tackle. So just bear in mind, being aware of if this is blocking me, and where does that begin? Follow the thread. Fear and readiness, okay? So fear is a big one. A lot of times we'll be fearful to chase a dream, or to follow a dream, or to even talk about a dream, right? There's a little fear there, resistance and fear. And here's something I want you to remember. We often fear where there is the most power, okay? So that fear is actually a beautiful clue that you have so much power there, okay? So a lot of times I find that people that are so fearful of something are incredibly talented in that area. That my cousin, who quietly sat and beautifully listened to everybody, and yet she had the voice of like unbelievable power. And it was like not sharing it and not showing it was because she knew there was a lot of power there subconsciously, right? We all have these things that we fear. And if we can look to that as, is there power there? That is really a big thing. So it helps us to release a little bit of that fear. And I'm going to take readiness off the table. I'm going to tell you something. We're never ready. Like, we're never going to be ready. We have to just start before we're ready, because readiness, we could be in analysis paralysis, right? We can analyze and prepare and read and study and all of those things, but we're never going to feel ready if we wait. Confidence and feeling ready often happens after bold action is taken, not before. So a lot of times we're like, when I'm ready, I'll take that bold action. I've been there myself in so many ways. I'll share some stories about it, but just know always you're not going to be ready. And sometimes we think there's a glass slipper or a golden ticket. Somebody else is going to help me with this dream. If only somebody could come and, put this dream into reality. And remember that you hold those things. You are your golden ticket. You have the glass slipper. And then anybody that's appointed to help you will come naturally once you know that you have that all within inside of you. Okay, so I say welcome to the greatest show on earth because we are in what I read years ago, always stuck with me. Doug Pittman calls it the greatest show on earth. It is a flea circus. So very quickly, I'm going to tell you how to train a flea. Okay, so this is going to help us with some of those judgments. Fleas, I didn't know this until I read this book. Fleas are actually jumpers. They are born to jump. I always thought of grasshoppers as having that market, but it's actually fleas. And they can jump 20, 30, 40 feet in the air. But yet years ago, people would go to these attractions and they were flea circuses, and the fleas would only jump a little bit here and there. So how do you train a flea? How do you train a flea that's supposed to jump 20, 30 feet, train it to jump 2, 3, 4 inches? You put the flea in a jar, you poke some holes in the jar, and the little flea jumps like it's born to do, thumps his head on the top of the jar. Thumps his head on the top of the jar. Well, you do this so many times, and what happens? That flea's like, I'm not crazy. I'm gonna just jump, I'm gonna adjust my jump. And I'm only gonna jump 4 inches instead of 20 feet, 30 feet, because I'm afraid I'm gonna hit my head. And that is what happens to us all the time. People unknowingly, I don't think people mean to do this, but like, oh, you're a little tall for that, or you're not really the best writer. I don't know, your grammar's pretty bad, and all of a sudden, jar, 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 and all this potential and all of this dream gets sort of smushed. The light goes out, the jar goes in. We are here to bust through those jars, okay? If we can acknowledge that that jar was just somebody else's limitation from experiences that they had, that we are capable of anything and everything. And remember, what we seek is what we find. So if we're looking for evidence that something is possible or not possible, you're gonna find it. So always look for what is possible. And I'm telling you, there is evidence everywhere for incredible, extraordinary possibilities, but there's also evidence of limitations. So it's where we seek, what we find, and bust through those jars. A lot of times I'll have clients just list out the jars that have been put around them so that they can read them back and see that has nothing to do with me. That was somebody else's experience, and they didn't mean to. We never look with grudges or anger. We just look for understanding and know that they didn't mean that. Okay. So the difference between purpose and dreams, I'm gonna just really quickly kind of tell you one thing that I hope sticks with you. If you are trying to find your purpose today, we can stop, because you're alive, you have one. Purpose is woven into every piece of our being, okay? It's not one place, it's not one thing, it's in everything. Everything has purpose, and how we live can be extremely purposeful just in making use of this one precious life we have. So can you live the dream? Who has time for all of that? And I say, if you're plugged into this life, if you're plugged into the moment, the dream will emerge, and you can, in fact, live the dream, which sounds kind of woo. How does that happen? Okay, so we're going to dig into this. So first, again, remember, we're talking about awareness. Awareness changes everything. So let's look for information. Do you have any dreams? Have you had any dreams in your lifetime? What have those dreams been? Sometimes people call them pipe dreams, or they're like a material dream, meaning like, oh, I dream I want this house or this car, this piece of jewelry, or this pop, whatever. This pipe dream, like, oh yeah, one day I would love to, you know, own a coffee farm. Well, that's a dream. I like that dream. Anyway, or something crazy that feels like a pipe dream. A greener grass dream might be something like, you know, if only, you know, I lived in that area, this would be better, or something outside of ourselves, if only. And core dreams are dreams that we are using our gifts in service of others. All of these dreams matter and have purpose. We should never poo-poo a dream because we think it doesn't matter. We just need to look for the information that that dream is providing us. Sometimes those dreams that are material in nature might lead us to a place of feeling like I'm looking for that because I don't feel worthy elsewhere in my life. I'm looking for that because I need to appreciate craftsmanship and I need to appreciate talent and gifts of building something. I'm looking to that other place because there's something currently here. So we're just looking for information from our dreams. And really, I've had clients come to me once they'd already achieved a dream and they still didn't feel fulfilled and they felt like I wasted my time. But when we dug into what that dream taught them and how they've transformed through that dream, it's never a waste of time. So it's extraordinary to really look for these informations from the different types of dreams we have. What if I have a dream, but I'm doing something else? Like this happens a lot where people, it's silly to have a dream. I have, responsibilities, I have work, and assigned means I'm in another day job or I'm doing something on the day-to-day that doesn't seem to align with my dream. And what I have to say is that our dreams, they're all intertwined, and our life, the dual life value basically means I value my life and I value yours. We're born with that in our human nature, and some things can really overtake some of those, experiences and whatnot. But when we look to the assignment that we are in, everything has purpose woven into it. There is a power of being present. I can clearly remember myself when I was in college. I had a professor who I just loved, who saw the light in me when I was very depressed and didn't see it within myself. But this professor had dreams of his own. He wanted to be directing theater. He wanted to do all of these things in his world. Secretly, I was so grateful he was working at the college because I credit him for really being an integral part of saving my life because he turned the light back on in me. Now, years later, he did move through to another part of his dream, but he was assigned this role as professor and he lived it to the fullest, and he was with his students to the fullest, and he was present with them and allowed the rest of his dream to emerge. And so a lot of times we think we'd rather be somewhere else, but there's an appointment that we don't even know. He would have no idea what his impact on me was. And that's just one example. Okay. So just remember that there is power of being present where we are, and just really, this goes to the manifesting versus openness. Manifesting is an amazing tool people use. They, obviously we have magnet energy within us, but there is also something to having this dream and this vision and being open to it, right? And being very open. So open to what's possible, open to what's given to us, open to what's around us. So we have the dream that's in our heart. We don't attach ourselves so deeply to it, and we remain open to all that is within the world around us. And I have this quote, sometimes on our way to a dream, we get lost and find a better one, because yes, sometimes that does happen where we're so into this one dream, but with the openness, something else emerges and we're just so surprised at the outcome. I want to just make sure that we don't judge our dreams in that they're too big or too small. They're way out of reach or they're not big enough. That is simply untrue. Every dream matters. There is no size attachment. So if there's a dream in your heart that feels too small, let that small go and allow whatever that dream is to be. If it feels too big, same thing. Okay, we're just being incredibly open. In the pursuit of dreams, so that idea that we have the dream, how do we stay open? And these are just some things to keep in mind, because what's meant for us cannot leave us. Our dreams do flow to us when it's meant for us, right? So there's something I like to call bull in a china shop energy versus flowing energy. And that bull in a china shop is that energy that thinks really hard all the time, and we're constantly banging into stuff, and we're thinking how to make this thing happen, and I gotta hustle, and I gotta grind, and I gotta make it, do it. And there's beauty to, obviously being inspired to work and working hard. I never want to take that away from anybody. But I also know that it can be exhausting and tiring if we're constantly feeling like we're ramming into stuff. And we know the difference. We know when it's just work, inspired action that's having us, hustle and really be excited versus exhausting, right? And so when we feel exhausted, it's time to take a step back. And remember I said about being present. There is so much amazing things that happen when we are connected to the present moment. Present moment is where all of our power lies. And if you think of it in terms of saying 3 light bulbs, right? You have a light bulb in the trash, you have a light bulb in the socket, and you have a light bulb in the closet. I always say to people, when you're thinking of those 3 light bulbs, where's the power? It's certainly not the one in the trash. That's where all of our past stuff is, right? There's no power there. A lot of times we give the past power by thinking about it a lot, but there isn't, because it's in the trash, literally in a light bulb. Is there a power in the light bulb in the closet? There might be, but we don't know. We haven't plugged it in yet. Is there power in the light bulb that's in the fixture? It's not in the light bulb. It's in the present moment connection between the bulb and the socket. In that present moment connection, there's so much power. So just remember that if you're feeling exhausted and tired, try to plug back into the present moment energy and feel what is telling you to do. We can literally hear direction inside of us. Listen in the present moment. This has been true for me, people I've worked with. One time I remember driving in the car with my son, and he was little, and we were singing. And singing is a great way to tap into present moment energy because you're in the moment. We were singing really loud, and I heard this little voice inside of me telling me to look left. And I go, look left? Like, I'm driving pretty fast. And I look to the left, and what do I see? But a man laying in the grass. Now, cars are whizzing by him. Normally, I would be one of them because I'm a Jersey girl. I'm not always that present when I drive. And I'm usually thinking of the to-do list, right? But in this moment, I happen to be present. I looked left. I was able to pull over. One other car pulled over, and miraculously, that car had in it a woman who was a yoga teacher. Now, if that's not a sign for me to remember to always be present, I don't know what is. So remember, the present moment energy will lead us to the directions that we feel like we might be missing in pursuit of our dreams, okay? And that is true in every aspect of our lives. We miss moments when we're not present. We can miss all the things that are meant for us when we're not present in the moment. Positive, negative, neutral. What's the deal? We hear a lot of times like, just be positive, that's negative. And I always say what goes up must come down, right? And I love being joyful and being energized, but when I put pressure on myself to just turn my frown upside down and be positive, it can be a little toxic. It can be a little toxic positivity. Neutral is a space that I always try my best. Again, I'm not a, we all do our best at this, right? So to get myself into a space of neutral where I'm not, so positive and going so full force and so much high that I have this low bouncing down to it. Neutral when you're pursuing dreams means we're not attached. We're not attached to the outcome because we're open to what else might be in store. So as much as we can, try to get ourselves in neutral, right? And 3, in pursuit of dreams, I always say, comparison is a thief of joy. And we are in a inadvertently comparison culture in many ways, where people are looking at likes on a post or what somebody does on their family vacation or selfies that are happy couples, and we're looking going, oh my gosh, I'm comparing. But comparison is the thief of joy. And joy is that magnet energy. Again, joy allows what's to come to us, and what isn't for us will naturally repel away, and it's all okay. So just remember, if you find yourself often comparing and subconsciously comparing, feeling like you're not measuring up, feeling like something is better or worse than your situation, that judgment around comparison, try to bring yourself back to that joyful, magnet, present moment energy. And that will help the dream flow together, okay? All right, so looking and listening and looking within for the path. So when we take our dreams out of hiding and we're pursuing them, how can our bodies give us clues if we're on the right path? And this is just a simple technique I want to share. And a lot of times we feel that earlier stuff, that worry, that fear, that all those things in the top of our body, like in our head a lot. It might be someplace else, but we feel like a frustration through it, right? Wherever we're feeling it, it feels tight and tense. So if you're feeling tension and tightness, ground in, take your shoes off, find some grass, find some ground. I know it sounds, to some of us like in the middle of the workday, I'm going to go outside. Yeah, go outside. Take a break, 5 minutes, find some grass, or after your workday, whatever. But find a place to ground down and really feel connected to your body. And when you feel that connection to your body, feel where you're feeling things. And wherever you feel that place of neutral, that's where it will tell you literally where to go. If you're feeling a lot of tension, that's false truth. Truth is very peaceful. It's very calming, and false truth is very stressful and aggravating. So they say that the same part of our brain that creates worry and fear creates hope and imagination for good. So if we're feeling really tense and stressful and we're using our imagination for that fear stuff, we can ground in, get neutral, and then use that imagination for all that is amazing and good. Just remember that our words can be our wand in many cases. The power of our words, both in speaking life and in speaking limitation to something. So when we're taking our dreams out of hiding, if we're like, I'm going to try this thing, or I'm thinking I'm not really sure, all of that is basically wanding that in, right? Like, you're not sure, well, and then it's not sure that's going to happen. When we can really speak life into something and really speak it in power, that can have a big effect, right? And so the wheel of thought is basically that feelings create beliefs, create thoughts, create words, create action. And so a lot of times it's hard to change the way we feel. It's hard to change those ingrained beliefs, although, again, going back to that jars and the limiting beliefs, we should look to do it. One of the easiest things to change is our words. So if we say something, somebody said something to me the other day and said that's out of her league. It was, that's out of my league. I said, nothing is out of your league. Absolutely nothing is out of your league. And she repeated me and she said, nothing is out of my league. And she goes, it feels really good, right? So just remember, that is so important, to remember the power of our words, okay? In life and in limitation. We can speak life and we can speak limitation in these things. Okay, so courage in dreams, it doesn't take a lot of courage. Like, we think of courage as like this big leaping across the chasm. Courage can be in everyday small things. Insane courage is just courage. It's that courage that puts you over the edge, one to the other. It doesn't have to be this huge leap across a chasm. It could just be a walk in faith, right? Rejection, failure, and the human connection all go with courage. So a lot of times we don't feel courageous because we've been rejected or we've had failures. Remember that rejection is just synonymous with redirection and protection. So when you've been rejected, say, I've been redirected and I've been protected. It's a good thing. Rejection, without rejection, we will never know the path that we're supposed to be on. So it's always something that we can look to for direction, a compass. Sometimes it redirects us back to our core values, to who we are and what we stand for. We're going for something that doesn't align with that, and maybe that rejection brings us back to center. Or maybe that rejection brings us to something that we couldn't even possibly have imagined is just around the corner. So rejection is just redirection and protection, whereas failure Basically, every failure will help you create your recipe for success. You have to have failure or else you can't learn. You're not failing, you're not learning, right? So those things can often block courage, but they actually should encourage courage because they're pointing you in the direction, all of these things. And the human connection. So I'm just going to say that if you think about everything, we're talking about magnetic energy and being open and really being, aligned with the dreams that we have in our heart. If you look at everything as having an energetic value, love and connection and being in that sort of dreamy state has a very high energetic value, whereas frustration and worry and fear and disconnection has a very low energetic value. In the middle of that scale, low to high, is courage. Courage is basically a bottle rocket to love and connection. When we can have that courage, it bottle rockets us into being really super connected and magnetic with the world around us. So we're not in judgment of the world around us or each other. We're in that beautiful healing space of connection. So just remember, this is a bold statement, but I believe it to be true. If we all all right. So let's give you some tactical things that you can do to act on your dreams. And you might be like looking at this slide like, what? I gotta buy milk bottles? And share a little quick story on that. My career has been, 20 plus years, and I've done many things. And at one point I was like, I'm never writing another book again. I'm done. I wrote a book about balance that completely threw me the heck off balance, right? We had money drained in our bank account. We had very little left to do anything, to start another business or do anything like that. But my husband had a talent with food and making lunches, and my daughter pointed it out to him one night, and we started a business about making kids' school lunches. And the business, it was really crazy how many parents were ordering these school lunches. And we were doing this out of the back of a friend's kitchen because, again, we didn't have money. So he had a restaurant. A friend let us use his kitchen overnight when he was closed to make these lunches. I had a dream of us having our own little storefront, but again, with very little resources. How does this happen? We have no resources to do this. I acted as if it was happening anyway, and I bought myself some little old-fashioned milk bottles. My husband says, "What are you, crazy? Why are you buying those? We don't have the store yet." I said, I'm going to put them in the window of the store when we have it. I'm just going to get the things we need for our store. Literally 6 months to the date of me buying those milk bottles and all the little things, acting as if this is happening, we opened up our very first storefront. All the resources came, everything we needed came, and I was ready, my husband was ready, because we were acting as if it was already happening. So I've seen this time and time again. That's one example for me, but I've seen this with friends and clients. Act as if it's happening. Support somebody as if their dream is happening. You have a friend that their dream is to buy a house, buy them a doormat. Buy them, a keychain for their new keys. Act as if it's happening for ourselves and others, okay? And that brings things together. Bake the brownies. This goes back to the readiness thing. We can't bake brownies in our mind, right? We actually have to bake brownies and see if the recipe we created tastes good, and if it doesn't, we tweak the recipe. So again, start doing the things every day, something towards your dream, okay? Let's do it again and again. Consistency makes the raindrops create holes in the rock. It doesn't necessarily have to be every single day. I think it's the consistency and the learning from the mistakes. And if you do a little bit once a week or a little bit once a month, say we have a company that helps people write and create and develop books, and they go, I have a full-time job, I have a family to feed, I don't have time to write a book. It's like, even if you just write once a week for 15 minutes over time. I've been working on my last book for the past 2 years. It's finally coming to fruition. Just the writing, I haven't even begun the editing, because just a little bit every time I'm doing it again and again. I'm spending a little time, not daily, but consistently. And I'm baking the brownies, meaning learning from the things like, oh, that brownie has too much sugar, I'm going to do a little less. Oh, we can do this theoretically in our mind, Doing it actually in the world is what's going to make them actually come together. Uh, Another career piece of my own career was I was really loving with the food business doing gift baskets. Now, I have no business doing gift baskets. I wasn't a gift basket creator, but I thought, oh, it could be more revenue. If you looked at my first gift basket versus what they came out to be years later, because I just continually learned how to make them, they're totally different. If I judged myself before I started, I would have never had a chance to do all of that work. So bake the brownies, okay? And then the third thing we can do is fuel and strengthen our 3 critical sources. We fuel ourselves through our senses, right? So everything that we see, hear, taste, touch, smell gives us some kind of energy. We want to fuel it in alignment with the energy of our dreams. And strength happens by making action. So taking action with things that are in our lives. The 3 critical sources is fueling our body, our mind, and our heart. If we can fuel those 3 things and strengthen those 3 things by action, we're going to be acting on our dreams even more so. There's so much research on how the senses take things in, and we subconsciously do actions based on what we're taking in the world around us. Okay, so how do we find support and be supportive? I say surrounded by dreamers and believers, and that's not always the case, right? There's people around us that maybe don't support our dreams, or they're thinking practically and realistically, and they're putting the jars unknowingly around them. It's okay. Though that our light is meant for somebody, not everybody. So those people, we don't cut them out of our lives unless you feel necessary and there's a reason to do it. I never suggest that unless it's something deep within the person. But what I do say is find where your light is celebrated and where you can light others up. And there's always communities, whether it be online, in person, just find the people that you feel so alive when you're around them and that are going to light you up, and be the same for them. Light them up as well. And if we catch ourselves, sometimes I notice this within myself, like if I catch myself saying something that doesn't feel supportive because it's concern or it's this, I'm using my head too much. And then I go, whoa, what am I saying? Wait, scratch that out. I'm going to say this differently to that person. And again, have that reflected back, right? But remember, our light is so important. We should never dim down, but it's not for everybody. So we have to just know where we go with the light, right? And then one last thing I want to leave you with. So I don't find it coincidental that 18 years ago today, this beautiful, inspiring woman, my grandma Millie, crossed over to be with the Lord. And she was the epitome of a dreamer and a believer. And she just really lit my spark up as a little girl and through my adult years. And almost 1 year to the day of her passing, my husband and I got married, and we played the song, I Hope You Dance, in her honor. And I thought it only be appropriate that I leave you with, I hope you dance. I hope you dance in this lifetime and really honor your gifts, honor your talents, take those dreams out of hiding, and just know that you are magnificently made and born for that purpose. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I was taking a bunch of notes, and a few things that resonated with me. Specifically, I am a firm believer that your dreams always can grow and change. And I actually believe that if we don't take the time to check in with them, and I know it's the first of the year or right after, so maybe this is the time that you do it. Personally, I always do it on my birthday.
Yeah.
Like, make sure my dreams are actually serving me and who I want to become. A lot happens to us each day, each year, each week. And we have to give ourselves grace to grow and change.
Yes.
So really providing the opportunity for our dreams to kind of grow along with us. And it doesn't mean that anything was failed, because they serve us for the length of time that we carry and pursue them. So I'm a firm believer that you do need to make sure that your dreams are actually helping you and are serving you, and that they fit who you want to be. So always take that time to kind of double check. And go into them. And then I also have a saying too, that some is better than none.
Yes.
I'm currently writing my book. I was a creative writing major in undergrad. And so there's just sometimes where I'm like, some is better than none. I'm just going to write 50 words tonight. And
Yep.
I like to almost check in with my characters is how I treat it. And
Yep.
I always feel really great about that, but some is better than none. So there's that.
100%. Yes. 100%. I love it.
Thank you everyone for staying with us. And I look forward to seeing you on our next event. And I hope everyone has a wonderful day.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
Bye.